Literacy Force. Today is our Product Knowledge Day, and I was thinking about something that I could offer that maybe other people don't always think of. I see a lot of questions in Thrive about recommendations for kids with autism. You want to sit here? Hold on, you need to meet my son. Oops, be careful. Okay, this is Samuel. Say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, it's your bottle. Hi, Haley. So I want to talk a little bit about, hi, Francis. Okay, shh. About giving, okay.
Hi, Minnie.
Yeah, saying hi, yeah. Okay, so I want to give a little bit of perspective on how to give recommendations to moms who have kids with autism. A lot of times we are given information, a lot of information about, sorry, hold on a second, I'm getting a little bit distracted. Yeah, it's shiny. Okay, so when we ask people about their children, sometimes from parents who have kids with autism, they just include, oh, my child is 7 and he has autism. Obviously, we want to ask more questions about that, but I want to help you know what to ask. A lot of times people feel intimidated. So let me walk through a little bit of what I was thinking with this, and whatever questions you have, put them below. Hi, Cherry! Put them below and I will do my best to respond to them. Remember, I am not an expert on autism, but I am an expert on autism with my kids, okay? Look, say hi, Shelzy.
Hi, Susie.
Good try. Okay, so what is autism? A lot of people kind of have an idea of what autism is. Hi, Holly. Thanks for watching. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what autism actually is before we dive into this. So if someone says their child is autistic, the only thing that autism means is that they have difficulty in social interactions and communication, which is actually pretty big, but that's basic. And then repetitive patterns of thought or behavior. So if they just say their child is autistic, that means they are struggling with social situations and communication. And this can be a huge spectrum of things. So I am going to talk a little bit about that too. And then the repetitive patterns of behavior, you definitely want to ask questions about. Are they struggling with aggression? Are they struggling with not really understanding where their body is in space? That's called proprioception. That's very common with autistics. Hi, SPED teacher here. Super excited about this live. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Holly. Okay, so I want to talk about the autism journey. A lot of times parents don't discover that their child is autistic until they're about 5 years old. That seems really young, but in the life of an autistic mom, an autism mom, 5 years is a long time to be doubting yourself as a parent, wondering what you're doing wrong, wondering what's going on with your kid, wondering why it's not so easy for them to catch concepts that are super easy for other kids. And so you kind of go through this self-doubt process. There's 2, good job. 1 + 1 is 2. And so it's important to validate that experience with them. If they are telling you that their child is autistic, they are opening up a myriad of topics for conversation for you. And it's a wonderful thing when they're open about it. I always try to validate that. I just say, man, I would love to hear your journey of how you came to discover your child is autistic. Or you can say, good for you for getting your child diagnosed. That opens up so many resources for them, and I'm excited to add to those resources. So just taking it, acknowledging the fact that they are mentioning that their child is autistic to you, which means that they trust you, and then run with that. You can say, you know, I don't have a ton of experience with autism, but I do know that these books have helped so many kids who are autistic with their many different adventures in life. So definitely validate that parent. It is a journey for them. So for the books, when you're thinking about the books, you want to look beyond the basic functions of the books and the engagement of the books, and then grasp the concept at like a rudimentary level. So let's see. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. So the part where, like, a lot of times we'll see things like, oh, their kid has autism, treat them like any other child. That honestly kind of downplays the adventure that that parent has just been through. The only part that you really want to approach the same is asking questions. Every autistic child shows their autism differently. Hi, Kayla. Hi, is it Mahela? Maybe, hopefully. Hi. Thanks for watching. Okay, go ahead. So the questions that we want to ask are just like we'd ask about other children. What do they like to learn about? What do they struggle with? This includes emotional, intellectual, and physical struggles. That will open up a door for you as well. And then what do they enjoy doing? Again, autism is social interactions and communication struggles, and then that pattern or repetition of their behavior, or sometimes speech is a repetition, just pattern of thought and behaviors. So I want to talk to you about some of my top books that I recommend for autistic parents. Speech is very common in autism, a speech struggle, any type of a speech delay. So let's talk about that. And again, most parents don't know their child is autistic until later. So I'm not going to touch on the baby books. You guys have such a great understanding of the baby books or toddler books, but I want to talk about these older books. So phonics. Honestly, when I first started with Usborne Books More, I didn't love the phonics books. I actually thought they were kind of silly, but I have a better understanding of what they're for and how important they are in the home. There is at least one book for every single letter of the alphabet. So if your parent says, my child struggles with speech, or they have a speech delay, ask them what the letter sounds are that they're struggling with, and recommend that specific phonics books for them. So my child struggles with S. Oh, we have a perfect phonics book. It's called Snail Brings the Mail. I could totally get you that on your wish list or whatever. So you're taking that very specific information and recommending it specifically for that child. So phonics books are great for the speech aspect. And then also, ooh, is that a heart? Say heart.
Hi.
Good job. Okay, go sit down. Okay, go sit down.
Hi.
It's a heart. Okay, so we also want to look at these books. So these books, okay, so That's Not My Book is a great example for a toddler or a baby where they have like that repetitive verbiage. These are also great books for that. Take Ted instead. So every single page has It's Time for Bed, Sleepyhead. Hold on. And then No, take, and then that's replaced. So they're hearing the same verbiage okay, Bubba, you're covering the same things. So you're hearing that same verbiage for every single page there. I don't know what he just did. Oops, hold on a sec, guys. Sorry. There we go. You're such a camera guy. So this is a great one for that repetitive phrasing in the book, okay? And then I'm a Dirty Dinosaur and I'm a Hungry Dinosaur are the same. I'm a Dirty Dinosaur, and then you've got those big letters too, which are great. Hey Sam, here, go look at this book, okay? Thanks. Yeah, that's an A. Who's next? Guess who? This is such a great one for speech because they're paying attention to this, and a lot of speech has to do with concepts as well. Paying attention, which leads us right into the next topic I want to talk about really fast. It's called, I call it awareness. Okay? Hey, thanks. Okay, I've got a loud child now. He was so quiet before. Hold on. Thanks, sweetie. Here, sit right here. Let's go say hi. Okay, so again, this is great for speech, paying attention to the details. If you think about conversation. Elephant, good job. And then they're paying attention to the situation. Okay, guess who's next? And then you look and they're trying to figure that out, okay? That leads us into awareness. You want to look at this one? Go ahead, look at all those animals. Okay, now we're going to jump into awareness. This is by the same author as who's next. Thanks, Alyssa. He's a loud kid today. Who's ready to play? So this is so great for awareness as well. Okay, let me show you one page. Okay, who is ready for lunch? So now they are looking at all of these pictures and trying to find who is actually ready for lunch. So let's see, I know there's usually two. Okay, so Duck is ready for lunch, and Panda is ready for lunch. And so they're kind of paying attention to what's on the page, and we're building awareness there. from my understanding with my kids, so my older kid can talk pretty well, and what I understand from his perspective with autism is that the world is viewed in shapes and objects. So, and this is, I mean, please don't take this and say, oh, this is for all autistic people, because I don't know if that's true or not. But for him, like when he looks around, people are objects. And so we have to really work on emotions and empathy around people. And he's not rude or anything, he just doesn't get it, and that's okay. So this actually helps a lot with awareness, seeing those changes on each page. It's a tiger. The Look Inside series is phenomenal, but this one specifically, Look Inside Your Body, is wonderful. We can have so many conversations. Yeah, it's a tiger. So many conversations about the insides and outsides of our bodies to help, again, with that awareness. We can also take it to other people and talking about how their brain works and talking about what they could be feeling physically. So I want to kind of do a demonstration here. If you look at my face, hi Roxy, thanks for joining us. If you look at my face, okay, I'm going to show two expressions. See, those two look the same. One was supposed to be laughing and one was supposed to be pain. So, when my kids see people who get hurt, a lot of times they laugh because they think that they're laughing. And so we really have to focus in on those details of the awareness so that they can catch those cues in social situations. Here are 3 of our picture books that are phenomenal for awareness. Best Behavior, Mind Your Manners, and Fair Shares. So this helps with situations, okay? So Mind Your Manners actually goes through a couple of situations that I totally love, like, oh, I can't find the page right now. It talks about walking into a room and not making a ton of sound, like, you know, pounding in there because other people are going to be doing stuff too. But it does walk through lots of different situations here, which again will kind of build that library of situations in their mind to be able to pull from for anytime they have to communicate with other people. Fair Shares is a big one. So there's a lot of comparing going on with my 2 boys right now. If I say my youngest is strong, my oldest will say, well, I'm stronger. Well, of course you are. You're bigger and you're older. And so this Fair Shares is so great to explain. They are strong for their size and you are strong for your size, and just explaining the differences there. Also for awareness, puzzles are great. We've got a ton of jigsaw puzzles, you guys, so you can do it for any age there. But just seeing the puzzles and trying to match the details together, you are realizing, oh, okay, it goes this way, and they're paying attention to those details, so they're building that awareness again. These are skills that honestly generally come pretty naturally for a lot of children. They are a struggle for our family and other families with kids with autism. All Better is a great one. It is a toddler book, but it's great for even like your lower elementary level, because it does teach empathy. If you don't have this one, stay tuned because I'm going to read a page. Oh no, dog wasn't looking where he was going. Ouch! Clean it, kiss it, and put a bandage on it. So then you can talk about pain and what the face might look like with pain, okay? So again, we're looking beyond the book here, and we're looking at the concepts that the parent can take home and help their child learn in these social situations. Now we're going to talk about older kids and their social situations, okay? Hey Jack and Billy B. Brown are phenomenal for showing these social situations for kids between 4 and 7 and really younger and a little bit older as well, and showing positive ways to work through those situations and their feelings. The toy store one I absolutely love reading that to my son because it talks about how he gives a toy to somebody that he thought didn't work, and then you realize it was working, it was just the batteries, so then he's upset. So we can talk about those feelings, but Jack actually handles the situation pretty well with Billy B. Like, they talk it out and they figure out what's fair in that situation. Ella Diaries and Olivia's Secret Scribbles are great also. They talk about those peer pressures and the social situations that they're going to come across. A little note, usually when you have a daughter who is autistic, you're looking at about 8-9 years old before you even have them diagnosed, because girls are really good at mimicking the social interactions with people. But by the time they're about 8 or 9, that's when kids are really kind of beyond that learning phase, and now they're implementing what they've learned, and that's where girls really struggle with when they have autism. So these books are going to be great to keep in your mind for girls with autism. Okay. Also, I Want to Be Kind. As basic as we can get here. What if I want to be kind to my brother? I can play a game with him. You know, these are super basic. It makes it easier for them to start building on those neural pathways. What if I want to be kind to my teacher? I can offer to help. Lots of different ideas here. This is such a great one. The What If series is wonderful. Okay, this one is out of print, but I do not have the You Choose book. So You Choose and You Choose in Space and Story Path, I think is what it's called. These are great for also building awareness. Perhaps you'd rather be a pet belonging to some child. Now they're looking at all the details and they're deciding which one catches their attention. But it opens up a conversation for a mom or older person to have with that child. And it's hard because sometimes, like, if the idea of conversation is extremely literal. So if I say, hey, how was your day? Good. Well, what did you do? I went to school. What did you do at school? I learned. Okay, well, what did you learn? Like, you're asking so many questions. And so this is super awesome to kind of start building those questions for them. And then, let's see. Let's talk about dexterity and motor skills for a second. So these busy books and wind-up books are so great. They are a bit expensive for what parents typically look for these, but if you really talk about the benefit, the price isn't going to matter. Finding money for good resources is something that we have to do regularly. So the pullback train is great for those motor skills. The motor skills, dexterity, any of the motor skills can be a struggle. And so just showing, like, okay, they're going to pull back and now they put it on here, and then they can even try to catch it, because trying to catch items is actually great for your mind and your motor skills, like trying to get those together. So it's great for occupational therapy as well. So this one in the wind-up book is fabulous for dexterity. The bus one is really cool because you can take out the pages and make a big track. But you've got the wind-up part, which builds that dexterity, okay? And then our slide and see. It also builds our motor skills. Just moving it back and forth is actually harder for some kids than some of us realize, and it helps a ton. It also helps with the concept of permanence. Usually that's not much of a struggle for these kids, but it can be, because every child has something different. When a child is autistic, they usually have something else as well, like ADHD or anxiety or developmental delays, things like that. So it's really good to get more information from the parents to know exactly which route to take with your suggestions there, okay? So the slide and see books are fabulous. And then any of our lift the flat books obviously are just great for building that dexterity, talking about that permanence, and then also learning like how hard to push and pull on things. That is also part of proprioception. So it's like understanding where you are in space, not like outer space, but in the space around you. A lot of times aggression is something that kids get to work through, and it's understanding the power behind the punch, basically. And that's a hard concept, like knowing where I start and where I stop. So these flaps actually help teach that really well because they're learning, okay, I'm going to touch the page, now I'm going to open it. Just all these things that, like I said, come so naturally for other kids. Let's see. For emotions, obviously emotions are huge. We are super awesome at talking about our emotion books, so I'm just going to run through 4 of them here, okay? All About Feelings is fabulous for our older kids. It can be a little bit overwhelming for younger kids. One thing I do want to point out, when you talk about All About Feelings, please mention that it's great with zones of regulation. Zones of regulation is so popular among the autism group because it helps break down emotions and it shows you how to process those. So just in the beginning, when it's talking about those colors, it is talking about the zones that they fall in. So anger is in the red zone. The red zone means you are too far into that emotional level and you need to bring yourself back to green. Yellow is kind of like a, okay, be careful here. These can be happy, also just kind of excited, but with the red zone, like you do have a lot of those negative emotions, but you also have emotions like elated, where you're so excited that you're kind of losing control. So these are so perfect with our zones of regulation. And then it moves on to blue, which is below green because you need to bring yourself back up to green. So you're kind of feeling overwhelmed or a little bit sad and you need to kind of bring yourself back to your happy place. And then green, that's where you always want to be. So our All About Feelings is fabulous for zones of regulation. Remember that, zones of regulation. And it gives lots of situations, which also helps with awareness in your social interactions, okay? So these are such great books for this. Also the No Worries. There's a lot of anxiety and ADHD among autistic kids. The way that anxiety and ADHD work are kind of the same way that the autistic brain works, in the sense that I'm trying not to get too scientific with you guys, but like the way that your brain grows. So let's say that they're like trees in there. With autism, when the person comes in to cut the trees, they cut it too far down. That's the same thing that happens with ADHD as well. So you are going to see a lot of that together. These are really good. Anxiety, ADHD, autism, these are really good because it kind of walks through that cognitive behavioral approach, which is very common in many of the approaches with our autistic kids. And these can be adapted. I use these with my younger kids. So these are 8 and up, but mom can read this and then adapt it to the younger child, and you can do it together, okay? Sorry, I hope I'm not going too long. I am. Okay, What If I Know My Feelings is so great because it breaks it down individually. You also learn facial expressions here. What if I feel brave? Look at that face. He's so proud of himself. I can try something new. But what if I feel scared? So now you can talk about the facial expression of being scared. I can ask for help. So it's just giving that really quick response on what you can do when you're feeling this way until your brain is past the emotional part and can work into the different strategies that you've developed to get back to your green or your calm place. Jonathan James and the What If Monster is fabulous. Honestly, when I first read this book, I cried. My son struggles to eat food for a multitude of reasons, and we got to this one. What if it's yucky? What if it's icky? What if mom yells because you're too picky? And then obviously the middle part, if you haven't read this book, you need to. It's so awesome. In the middle, so there's tons and tons of what ifs. What if they giggle? What if it's chilly? What if you jump and look really silly? And then Jonathan James realizes what's going on. Now wait just a minute, I have something to say. After hearing what ifs all through the day, I hear all your worries, I hear all your claims, but what if you're wrong? Asked Jonathan James. And then he goes through, what if I taste some of that food and it puts my mouth in a really good mood? My son actually tried a peanut butter and jelly sandwich the day after we read this book. So it sounds super small, but that was huge. It took us like 1.5 years to get him to try a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It was a big deal. And then finishing off with, and what if the chance I take in the end is just how I find my very best friend? That one leads me right into Upside Down Sid, okay? Upside Down Sid is fabulous for kids with special needs. It specifically applies to me and my family because if you think about autistic kids, a lot of times people think that they see the world so differently. They do, and that's okay, but I think getting this book into the home of every autistic child is a blessing, because it shows like he's living his life and he's kind of by himself. I can guarantee that the mom is going to cry when she reads this because he's trying to live in a world that is upside down to him, but to everybody else he is upside down, you know. And then he comes and these friends, the neighbors throw a ball through the window. And then they meet him. That's the first time they've met him. And they want to be his friend, but everything that they're trying isn't working. They want to ride rides, they can't do it. They want to ride in a car, they can't do it. They try to have a meal, they can't do it because he sees things from the opposite perspective. Well, the friends are phenomenal. This is the part that kind of got me emotional. And they go in to his home and they help adapt his home to him. Sorry. See, there we go. They adapt it to him. So it shows that people can care and they can try to make life easier for that child. And they end up having a blast. Like the friends ended up having dinner upside down with him. Just showing, hey, there are people out there who want to be friends with your child. It's such a big deal. And last two, you guys, Cordelia is so great. I love the illustration on the part where she starts to lose her confidence. So something that is common with kids who have ADHD is self-doubt or a lack of confidence. So Cordelia goes through, so Cordelia can fly, and in the middle of it, we're talking about how people are telling her she can't fly and she's starting to believe them. So if you look, her color starts to fade, and now she's kind of a gray, and then she's full on gray in this one. And it's a beautiful illustration of what actually happens when you start to lose that self-confidence. This book is phenomenal because you can go through and talk about, okay, well, maybe you're feeling like this, but let's get your confidence back. And then she's full color again. And then she's remembering that she can do those things. She can do hard things. She can do just the things that other people may not think she can do. So Cordelia is wonderful. Last book, Be Positive, is a new one that we have. It's the new in the Mindful Kids series, and it helps build that self-confidence. Again, if the child has ADHD, it's very common for them to have a lower self-esteem. It's not a negative thing, it's just what happens. And this is fabulous for helping them to rebuild that confidence and helping them understand that they have a lot to offer the world. I remember when my son was 3 and a half, I told him I loved him, and he goes, "No, you don't." And it wasn't like, "No, Mom, you don't know how to show me that you love me." It was, "You don't love me because I'm not worth it." That was kind of the context of it, and it broke my heart. And I realized, okay, my child is struggling with confidence, and I need to make sure that I build that up with him. And this is a fabulous way to do that. So I hope that helps. I hope that brought some light. I hope it wasn't too ridiculously long. If you have questions, please comment below. I would love to absolutely answer any questions that you have. You're welcome to message me if you want. I am happy to share my experience. There are other parents in here who do have kids with autism. I just ask when you're working with parents who have kids with autism that you keep in mind that yes, their kids look like other kids, and yes, these books will affect their kids the way that other kids will, but it took a journey to get where they're at, to even understand that their child is autistic, and just validate that. Once you validate that, their trust in you is going to skyrocket, and they will want to come back to you and buy from you because you took them into consideration instead of just talking about how amazing the books are. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday and have a great day.